When people ask me what I do for a living, I tell them I'm a retirement income planner. Simply put, we work hard to make sure our clients never run out of money in retirement. You see, if you are currently retired or coming up on retirement, your entire financial future comes down to one critically important question. Will you outlive your money or will your money outlive you? And the answer is very obvious. You want to make sure that your money outlives you and that you never run out of money in retirement. And that's what I love helping people do, is helping people make the right type of plan. Did you know that a recent research study concluded that 81% of Americans do not know if they have enough money in retirement? And on top of that, if you are currently a 60-year-old married couple, that the chances of one of you reaching your mid-90s is extremely high. And with an average of 3% inflation, which we all know about inflation, that means over your retirement life, your cost of living is going to triple. And if you do not have a plan that increases your income, you might very well have a plan that has you running out of money in retirement. We understand that retirement can cause worry. It's scary to not know if you have enough money. In fact, running out of money in retirement will cause financial pain, stress, and hardship, not just on you, but on your family as well. This is what I love about helping our clients, helping them plan, strategize, and understand that everything's going to be okay, that they get to live the retirement life that they've always dreamed about. We all should have clarity and confidence in our financial futures. You can't put a price tag on peace of mind. As Social Security income planners, we know that Social Security is a very important piece to your retirement plan. It does not matter how much money you make. Social Security is important to everyone, and having the strategies to maximize your Social Security will only give you a better retirement life. Think about it. It would allow you to retire earlier if you want, spend more money in retirement, have more money to pass away as inheritance, and then also give you the joy to give more to others and help out. These are the things that are important to our clients, so they're important to us. Today, I am thrilled to share this with you. I am so grateful that I was able to sit down with the two co-founders of Premier Social Security Consulting. They've created the only nationally accredited Social Security certificate program in the United States of America. One of the co-founders has a 35-year history with Social Security Administration, working in several different offices at different levels. The other co-founder was a very successful CPA. Get excited, because you're going to want to hear what they have to say. Well, hey, first of all, I want to say thank you both for doing this. I'm so excited. I have both Marc Kiner and Jim Blair, the duo partnership that started the National Accredited Social Security Advisor Certificate Program. But first off, let me just ask you both. Tell us a little bit about your backgrounds individually and a little bit about your professional resume.
Well, Nick, thanks for having us. I do appreciate it. I'm Marc Kiner. We're at frigid Cincinnati, Ohio today. Jim and I, we started our business back in 2010. My background is I'm a former CPA, done tax returns for about 30 years or so. And over time, I was getting more and more questions about Social Security. Did not know who to go to for answers. So I thought I would offer Social Security consulting services in my accounting practice. So back in 2008, I bought 3 books on the topic, read them cover to cover. I ended up with more questions than answers, so I knew I could not provide this service. So one day I was in a local restaurant called the Rusty Bucket, similar to a TGIF nationwide. And an attorney walked in, somebody I'd known for about 10, 15 years. And I just went up to him and I asked him if he knew anybody who could educate me about Social Security. He told me that his uncle works for the Social Security Administration and his uncle was going to retire a few months later. Well, you all know by now that his uncle ended up being my partner, Jim Blair. Right, Jim?
That's right. Kind of fate, I guess, kind of stumbled into it, which kind of leads into my background. I worked for the Social Security Administration, and I was there 35 years when I retired and did a number of jobs. Started off as a service representative. It's that smiling face you see when you walk in the front door. But they generally help people who've already applied and they're having issues. Maybe they're missing a check, overpaid, all sorts of things. Moved into the claims taking part of it and took claims for retirement, survivors, disability, and health insurance for about 10 years. Moved into the management end of it. did a number of jobs there, but spent the last 9 years as the district manager of the Piqua, Ohio office. Now, very few people know where Piqua is. It's a nice little rural community about 30 miles north of Dayton. But the thing about Social Security is, regardless of where you are, there's probably an office fairly close. So a lot of experience with Social Security. That's what I knew. Marc came along with his vision with Premier Social Security Consulting. Sounded like a pretty good idea. So we've been doing it ever since.
Well, I think that's fantastic. And obviously, Marc, with your background in accounting, you knew that there was a need out there, that individuals, Americans needed help, had questions. I mean, Jim, with your background, I mean, you have a great quote, and I see it all the time. In fact, I've used it in my seminars, is that when you go to a Social Security administrative office, they are order takers. They are not advisors. And would you elaborate on that a little bit? Because you've worked there. You would know better than anybody.
Well, first of all, that's probably a good thing, in that they don't know somebody's complete financial history, what they have in savings, other sources of income they may have in retirement. All they know about is Social Security. So they're not going to sit there and advise people on when to take benefits or when not to take benefits. They should be making sure they understand all the benefits that are available to them, anything that has to do with Social Security. But pretty much they've decided that because people have access to the internet, they're aware of their financial situation, they'll make the best decision. Well, the problem with that is you don't always know all the benefits available to you under your particular situation. And when is the best time to take benefits? Is it because I'm 62? Should I wait till 70? Take it somewhere in between? What all sorts of other things are in there that I have to take into consideration? Do I have a spouse, children, ex-spouse, or maybe a deceased spouse in my past? Did I work for the state or local county government and getting a pension that's not covered by Social Security? Just so many different things that nobody's situation is the same, yet people don't always understand fully what is available to them.
No, I couldn't agree with you more. You know, being in the financial services business almost 2 decades now, I stumbled upon 2 things very quickly. One is how important Social Security is. I mean, it's part of everybody's retirement plan. But the second thing too is people didn't have resources or answers. It's complex and confusing. I mean, it's very tough. And then a lot of information you see online or what people tell you is sometimes misleading or out just wrong. So, I mean, you kind of touched on it a little bit, Jim, but Marc, you do a great job as well, because Marc, when you talk about, situational Social Security, I mean, that's what when I was going through the National Social Security Advisor Certificate Program, I mean, that's what we're trained in, is situational Social Security. And Marc, could you elaborate on how important that is when each individual needs to decide what's best for them?
Well, Nick, there are 76 million baby boomers out there. And the figure changes a little bit depending on who you talk to or what you rate. And everyone out there is in a unique and different situation. Jim could be meeting with 10 different married couples, and they could all have different options and strategies available to them. And so it's so important when we talk to clients to look at Social Security on a family unit type of basis. It's not necessarily a husband or wife. We want to look at both husband and wife. Maybe we need to factor in some young kids along the way. Like Jim said, maybe somebody was a public employee. So in our class, we do focus on situational Social Security because we know everyone is unique and different. At the end of our training, we want to make sure advisors understand all the questions and issues that relate to every one of their unique and individual clients. Clients may be single, married, they may be surviving spouses, they may be ex-spouses. It's quite possible you might be working with government employees or somebody that can still file that very valuable restricted application. You may be working with clients that can go back 6 months, get a nice lump sum check from the Social Security Administration. And full retirement age used to be age 66 for everybody. Now it ranges between 66 and 67. If you're meeting with folks this year and they're turning 62 this year or next year, 2023, their full retirement age would be age 67. I was born in 1956. My full retirement age is 66 and 4 months, which equated to June of 2022. So Social Security doesn't change a whole lot from year to year. It's kind of like a glacier. However, though, advisors just don't take the time to learn about Social Security for the most part and not able to help their clients to sort through the Social Security options. Let me say one other thing. You mentioned that back when I was trying to determine if I wanted to get into the Social Security field, you kind of indicated that I knew that this was needed. Back then, back in 2008 or 9, I didn't know this was needed as much. But believe me, Nick, I know now. I know that advisors know very little bit about Social Security. I know now that the Social Security Administration is not going to give you any advice. They may try, but they're not going to give you good advice. They won't even answer many of your questions correctly. So when we teach one advisor, like yourself, that means that now we've educated the advisors so they can reach out to their, I'm going to say 200 clients overall. And so our mission is pure and simple, is to educate advisors so they understand Social Security and can provide this advice.
Oh, I think that you're exactly right. And I want to just touch on a couple of things you just said, because when I became a financial advisor, a licensed financial advisor, nowhere on the Series 7 is there anything about Social Security. And so I didn't know much about Social Security. And, so you're exactly right. And when I was in school, the first thing during the CFP, being a certified financial planner, was the professor said 90% of Americans do not maximize their Social Security that's owed to them. 90%. I mean, that's a lot. And you and Jim both say that too on your educational program. And so I went out looking, and that's when I found both you and Jim, and I was so grateful. And the other thing I want to touch, and the other thing I want to touch on, what you're exactly right too, is that I have a lot of clients that come in and they'll say, well, my neighbor said he did this with Social Security, so I should do that too. Or my family member, I heard this. And it might have worked for their neighbor or their family member, but it might not be the best option for them.
Jim will respond to that.
Absolutely.
And it may not have even worked well for their family member or neighbor too. They may have not made the right decisions. But just this real recently this week, I've spoken with someone that had a deceased spouse in their past and didn't realize in the beginning that there may be some benefits there, or what those benefits would be. And the fact that they could take their deceased spouse's benefit and save their own until 70. And in the meantime, you're getting paid Social Security benefits. I spoke with another individual that had a disabled child that lived with them. And so that child's going to be eligible for benefits. And when we first started, they weren't necessarily aware of that either. So we like to make sure that when we talk to people, we just kind of go over their particular situation, let them tell us where they're at and how things look in their lives. And then we can start pointing them in the right direction. And we don't make the decision for people. We want to make sure they make the decision themselves, but we want to make sure they have all the facts. And that's why it's so important for financial advisors or CPAs or anybody who works with people having an understanding. And the good thing about our program, the NSSA program, is even if you don't know everything, I know you've heard it. And if you have a question, you know where you can go to get that answer. And that makes it not only good for you, but it's great for your clients. And if you find people some money they didn't know about, they're always happy about that.
Absolutely, they are. And that's one thing I've realized too, is most people don't realize that, Mark was talking earlier on all the different benefits available. Most people are entitled to more than just one, not just their own retirement, but it could be a spouse, deceased spouse, ex-spouse, deceased ex-spouse. Or I've actually even come across this. I've had grandparents adopt their grandchildren, and guess what? Now their grandchildren are entitled to benefits and are receiving benefits. Most people don't realize that. So I can't tell you how grateful I am as an advisor. And I would recommend this to a lot of financial advisors because it's wonderful. But you also it's not just advisors, correct? You offer this to ordinary people as well. You don't have to be an advisor, or CPA, or lawyer to be a National Social Security advisor.
Our class is mainly geared towards advisors. There's really no doubt about that. I do not see other folks taking our training. It could happen, believe me, but it generally doesn't happen because the cost of our training can range between like $800 and $1,100, and it's 8 hours long. We really get into the weeds on things. So no, the general public don't necessarily take our training. We wouldn't mind if they did, because they learn a lot that can definitely help them with relating to their own benefits, but they don't. It's the advisors. They take our training.
Well, I tell you what, to both of you, I can't tell you how grateful I am for doing this with me today, but also B, just the program as well. It's really helped me. I've really enjoyed it. I would stress it to a lot of CPAs, financial advisors, attorneys, because it equips you and empowers you to help people. And that's what our job is to do. This has just been wonderful. I really mean it. Thank you so much. Is there anything I haven't asked you, you'd say, hey, you'd want to know this about the program or about Social Security in general?
Well, I will also say that we emphasize probing Social Security questions so clients can get more money out of the system. In my mind, Nick, that might be even more important than understanding situational Social Security. Advisors need to know how to ask the right questions so that clients get more money out of the system. For example, it wasn't long ago, an attorney called maybe 3 years ago. His name was Lee, and I take all phone calls. So I started out, Lee, when were you born? He said 1952. So the first thing I thought of right off the bat was he can still file that restricted application. Lee, are you married? No. Are you divorced? Yes. How long were you married? Lee said, 9.5 years, maybe 9 years, 9 months. I said, Lee, if you were married for 10 years, then you're able to collect off your ex-spouse. And so we asked Lee to send us his divorce decree. And he did. Jim, what do you define looking at his divorce decree?
Yeah, turns out he made the 10-year rule. With divorces, it's not when the judge slams the hammer down and says you're divorced. It's when the clerk of court gets around to filing that into the court record. So he made that 10 years. He was able to file a restricted application and draw benefits off of his ex-spouse's work record while he was waiting till age 70 to take his own. So he was real happy. And that's the important part that Mark's pointing out is you need to be proactive. Be proactive with your clients and don't wait for them to bring up Social Security. You always want to bring it up yourself if they're not talking about it, because it is an important part of people's income in retirement. One great thing about Social Security, it's a lifetime benefit. And so it's real important that when you do take it, you take it correctly. But being proactive is so important.
Nick, we always tell folks when they take our class, the last thing we want them to do when a client comes in and utters the word Social Security is they hide under their desks, have them call the toll-free number, have them visit the local office, or take an extended restroom break. Our advisors are the client's trusted advisors, and they need to be there to help the clients to sort through these options.
Oh, I think it's wonderful. I really do. And again, thank you both. And Mark, just thank you for setting this up. I'm so grateful. And I really mean this.
Now, Nick, we really definitely appreciate your support. I really like that large paper weight you have to the left-hand side of your desk.
I noticed
2020, 2023 is available now. So anyway, we appreciate your support.
Thank you both. And Jim, thank you for getting on, even though you've been under the weather. You're a trooper, man. So thank you so much. Well, y'all have a blessed and Merry Christmas.
Nick, thanks.
Thanks so much.
You too. Merry Christmas.
All right. Bye, guys.
Nick.
See you, Mark.